All right, so we're gonna make some sandwich bread with sourdough. So we're gonna start by putting 500 grams of all-purpose flour. And I'm gonna measure it out in this bowl and then dump it into my mixing bowl. And 500 grams is about 4 cups. Weighing is generally more accurate, but if you don't have a scale, you can absolutely measure it. All right, so there's our 500 grams of flour. And I'm gonna put this in my stand mixer with the paddle attachment. Next, we want 60 grams of butter. So the instructions say to use unsalted butter. All I have is salted, so that's what I'm using. Put in my stand mixer bowl. 12 grams of sugar. Which is about a tablespoon. And 9 grams of sea salt. Alright, so we're just going to mix this now on low speed. Oops, wrong way. My butter down there. Alright, so this looks like a nice crumb mixture. And now we're going to add our sourdough starter and some warm water. So we want 150 grams of sourdough starter. And it should be active and bubbly starter. Whoops, that's a little bit more than I needed. And to that we want to add 250 grams of warm water. All right, there's our warm water. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and add this to my flour mixture. All right, and we're just going to mix this until our flour is fully absorbed. Turn this up just a little bit. All righty. So now we're going to let our dough rest for 30 minutes. So here is what this looks like. It's pretty sticky, but it's very well absorbed. It's got all the flour in there. So I'm going to cover this with a towel, and we're going to let this rest for about 30 minutes. So I'll be back in 30 minutes and we'll move on to our next step. Now that our 30 minutes is up, we are going to put this back on. We're going to switch to our dough hook. Maybe if I can, there we go. And we're going to let this run for 6 to 8 minutes. On your KitchenAid, that would be about a 3. If you don't have a stand mixer with the dough hook, you can knead this by hand. It'll take about 8 to 10 minutes. Okay. Take our dough. Still pretty sticky. So we're going to pull it out of our mixing bowl, and we're going to put it, I'm going to put it in another bowl. You could leave it in your mixing bowl if you want, but I want to get my stand mixer so that I can use it for other things. And so now I'm just going to take some plastic wrap. And I'm going to cover this bowl pretty tightly with my plastic wrap. Because this is a sourdough, this is going to need a long rise time, so we're going to let this sit 8 to 12 hours depending on how warm your kitchen is. I really want to bake this later today, so hopefully mine will be risen in the lesser time. If not, I'll just be up late putting this in the oven. So we're just going to let this sit now and do its first rise, and then we'll be back when we're ready to work on the next step. All right, so today I'm going to take some of my pickled jalapenos and I'm going to turn them into candied jalapenos. So we're going to start here. I'm going to double this recipe because I've got a few jars out. So we want 2 cups of water, 2 cups of sugar, and 6 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. All right, there's our water. All right, so we're going to add 2 cups of sugar. And 6 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. And now we're just going to stir this and let it heat up until our sugar is all melted. So while that's heating, I'm going to take my jars of pickled jalapenos and I'm going to put them in this larger jar because I'm going to pour the sugared water over it. And then I'm going to drain this juice that's in my pickled jalapenos. I'm going to drain that out. So I've drained that out and I'm going to add these back to my jar. All right. So I'm going to let this cool just a little bit before I pour it over these because I don't want my jar to break. All right, so I'm actually going to just warm up my jar a little bit under hot water. All right, so the reason that I did that is because if you pour hot liquid into a cold or cool glass container, that glass can break. Oops, I'm making a mess. All right, so I actually have some of my sugar mixture left. So I think what I'm going to do is go get another couple jars of my pickled jalapenos, put those in a different jar, and pour that on there as well. So then we're just going to let that sit with a lid on it for a few days. We want to make sure that the jalapenos fully absorb that sugar. And then I'm actually going to try freeze drying them. So we'll see how that turns out. So I'm going to go ahead and mix up the rest of this, and then we'll be back in a few days to see how this turned out. All right, so I've got my dough. It's been rising all night, and I'm just going to kind of flatten it out into a rectangle. And then I'm just going to pull the edges up and pinch them. What we're trying to do is create surface tension on the bottom of this roll. So that's how we're going to get a good rise. I'm going to take this, we're going to put it in our pan, and now we're going to let it rise until it's coming over the top of our bread pan. So I'm just going to cover that with some plastic. Like that. We've got that covered, and now we are just going to let it sit. It'll probably take a couple of hours, and when that dough is risen as far as it needs to go, then I'll show you the next step.
So the second rise should have only taken a couple of hours, and I actually ended up letting it rise all day. I don't know if my starter wasn't active enough. I thought it was, and it was pretty warm in my house, so I don't know, but I just let it rise until it was where it needed to be, up above the rim of the pan. It looks beautiful. So I'm just going to now put an egg wash on it and stick it in the oven.
All right, so I just took this out of the oven. It baked about 45 minutes. It looks beautiful. So I'm gonna let it cool about 10 or 15 minutes in the pan, and then I'm gonna take it out, put it on that cooling rack, and let it finish cooling completely before we cut into it.
The sandwich bread turned out beautiful and soft and delicious, and so we'll use that to make our sandwiches this week.
All right, so this is the candied jalapenos that have been freeze dried. So I just want you to try a piece and tell me what you think.
Candy?
I don't know if it's hot or not. That's why I wouldn't try it.
So am I gonna go, ah!
I hope not. What do you think?
I think it's pretty good, babe. It gets hotter after you already got it done or whatever, but it's not like,
It's not like super hot.
no.
All
But
right.
for
Okay.
you, it might be.
Oh yeah, I'm not eating it.
But it's pretty good though.
I'm not eating it. Oh, stop.
No, but it's pretty good.
Okay. I'm gonna give some to KP. So my friend that I used to work with, I used to give him pickled jalapenos, and his son, their son was 6 or 7, 8, I don't know how old he is. Probably older than I think, but he tried some and he liked them even though they were super hot, so I think he'll like these too.